Honorable High Lord Judge Brunswick. All rise for the Honorable High Lord Judge Bringus.
Come on
Hold on, let me get myself situated. There we go. You may be seated. Welcome everyone to this most esteemed of days where we try the innocence of one of those three men. I haven't decided yet. You're the prosecution, Brunswick. Oh wow, this is going to be a slam dunk for you, isn't it?
We'll see about that.
You guys are fucked. Right. Anyway. Carry on. What are we doing? I call court into session.
There he goes, throwing it, yes. Okay.
All right. Prosecution, please introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. High Lord, Honorable Judge Bringus, I am the prosecution for the LPD. My name is Mr. Brunswick. And the charges that the LPD shall be pursuing today are breaking and entering, possession of an illegal substance, intent to distribute, trespassing, vandalism, and squatting. These are the charges that we seek to bring before the court so they can make an honorable decision whether or not the defendant is guilty.
Proceed with your opening statement. And introduce yourselves as well.
Of course, Your Highness.
If you crash, you just need to request again.
Of the Robert Python Association. This right here is my poor misunderstood friend who has been cruelly abused and framed by the Loli Police Department, which, mind you, has no official legal jurisdiction within this quadrant of the metaverse. So I believe. But what I'm here today is to show you and the rest of these good people that this poor man here, quite frankly, is a victim of circumstance. Right. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. And, oh, yes, I don't think he's, graduated college, but he's also one of the attorneys.
That's my second lawyer, just in case.
Yeah.
Up there.
Oh, that's a good name. I like that name. Just in case. That's a good name. Strong name.
Just go with it.
All right. Will the prosecution bring forth their first witness?
I believe it was the defendant who wanted to bring forth a witness, Your Honor.
Oh, was it? All right. Go ahead.
Right. I would like to call Impala to the stand. Do you, or do you not, know the man sitting in the courtroom today known as Meathamski?
Yes.
Would you say that in your time of knowing Mr. Hamsky, he is a reputable, stand-up kind of guy?
Yes.
I see. Were you there on the night of the alleged arrest against Mr. Hamsky, conducted by the Loli Police Department? Please try to keep your emotions to yourself. Yes, yes.
She got rabies in prison.
Down, boy.
Please make us look bad. Would you say that Mr. Hamsky was unnecessarily brutalized by the Loli Police Department upon this arrest?
That's what we all were.
Speaking in tongues. Yes. Was it true that Mr. Hamsky, upon being arrested, was promptly shot by multiple officers?
The pigs shot him.
The pigs shot him, Your Honor. Mr. Hamsky, Your Honor, may I please have Mr. Hamsky stand up for the court?
If that's what you're into, go ahead.
All right. Come, stand right here in plain view of His Honor. Mr. Hamsky, when I stick my finger here, does it hurt?
Ow! Come on, what the hell?
What is that I just touched?
That's a bullet hole from an officer that
A
shot me.
bullet hole from an officer that shot him, Your Honor. Was this before or after you were in handcuffs?
Oh, but
All right. Yeah, I think you're allowed to say that in the courtroom, I believe.
okay. Well, I got shot by a tiny cat officer before this whole incident, and so when they were in my apartment, it was a little scary, and they were pretty
Okay.
polite though.
Okay. Well, shot. Regardless. Twice, even. And brutalized. Look at it. Look at this poor man's face. Look at the bruising around the eyes, the beaten lip, the bandages. Why, that's a tampon on your cheek, good sir. Were you not given proper medical care within the
I don't have
custody
health
of the
insurance.
Loli Police Department? But surely you
Nope.
know it must have been offered to all prisoners. Did they not offer you free medical assistance after their cruel and brutal beating?
Just bringing me back memories.
Of course.
I don't want to go back to prison.
She hasn't changed what it looks like.
I think we should send one back to prison.
No, wait, no. Don't force me to listen to barking all day. No, stop.
The egg's a little undercooked, if you know what I mean. We should...
No.
But yes, do the right thing.
I don't, but I'll play along for the sake of court points. Impala, I have a couple of questions. You said that you were present at the time that the LPD showed up at Meathamski's apartment, so to speak, yes? It's a yes or no question. Good, alright. Now, you claim that you saw LPD officers assault Meathamski, is that correct? It sounds like you're quite traumatized by the event. Did you see it in its entirety? Well, it is well known that when you are traumatized by an event, it is burned into your memory and you can never forget it. That being said, can you identify the officers that were present at the time of this assault? I'm sorry, can you say that again? A little less insanity. Are you able to identify the officers in question that were present at the time of the arrest?
Yo, she's crazy, man.
You call it crazy?
What? That being said, how do you know Mr. Meathamski?
For your job.
Good friend, you are my sunshine, my sunshine.
I can answer that.
I never know, dear.
Happy songs, happy
Very
songs.
odd, Your Honor, that somebody could claim to be such close friends with the defendant wouldn't know how long he had lived at his current location, even though they are present. It would seem long enough to know that they are a singer, and that they were present for the time of the arrest.
Objection!
But that being
Objection,
said,
Your Honor. Hearsay.
The witness is clearly mentally unstable and wouldn't know the answers to these questions.
No, that's not that's undermining our case. No, what my uneducated friend meant to say is, it would appear at this moment our witness is very emotional about the whole ordeal, and I believe that Mr. Brunswick, in light of the absence of an answer, is coming up with his own conclusions. I call hearsay, Your Honor.
If we're going to speak about hearsay, Your Honor, I would like to bring up what the defendant and his attorney brought up outside of the cross-examination. Mr. Meathamski, if you could please stand up for me.
Yeah.
Now you claimed that you were shot by LPD officers, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you claimed that you were brutalized by them upon arrest.
It was one officer, not all of them, but they're all the same, you know?
Well, the story that you had just given not too long ago was all of the officers, upon your arrest, had brutalized you. In fact, that's word for word what your defense attorney had just said.
All of
But that's
the
up to the
officers
court to
present,
decide,
which was
not for me.
one.
That
There
being
have been
said,
other instances. Your Honor, please, this is
I'm not
ridiculous.
speaking about other instances, Mr. Python. Please,
He
I'm
has
speaking
a
to the
history
defendant.
with... It's not even allowed.
Mr. Meathamski, you claimed, or at least your defense attorney claimed, that the injuries to your face took place from the officers. Yes?
It took place from a officer, the ones that busted into my apartment. Oh God, hold on.
He's having a flashback. Just allow a moment.
It's time to corroborate his story, I understand.
Wait, what? No, that's not it at all. You're full of it.
Alright, should be good. What was the question?
Did you get the medical attention you need, Mr. Meathamski, or the drugs still kind of slowing you down?
Well, I'm always a little bit on edge, not because of drugs or anything, but yeah, I'm mostly numb because of the pain, because it happens so often. Just one tiny cat cop that did all this to me, except for when they raided my apartment.
I see. Can you identify the officer in question?
He is not currently here because he decided to not come.
Could you tell me his name?
Officer Radfun.
Officer Radfun.
Oh, like,
That's an interesting turn of events. From what I understand, Officer, or a Officer Radfun, is not part of the LPD, but that is an entirely different scenario. Mr. Meathamski, you can sit down.
What? Who?
What are you whispering about? You told me about how fat I am again.
We love you. You're so precious.
Alright.
We would never. Alright, who's the next witness? Come on.
Bento over there, the green one.
Green one. Got it. All right. Your Honor. Your Majesty. Your illustriousness. We would like to call another witness to the stand.
Very well.
Bento over there. Tell me this. The RV that was previously mentioned, can we put that up on the for the property damage report, Your Honor?
Yes, give me one moment. Oh, I dropped something. There we go. Yes, let me see. Oh, this one.
Ooh.
Is it this one? Nope, this one.
Property damage, yes. As the court can see here, property damage was inflicted upon a hot dog stand next to the Lucuza resident, place of business, yes. Owned by Lucuza, that happens to be allowed. About the controlled substances, Your Honor, can we take a look at that on the controlled substances that were...
One more time.
Jesus! That is...
Listen, I've got my own priorities. You all woke me up for this. I didn't get time to look at my gallery today.
What is that, Vagisil?
Yeah, well, you get what you get and you try to sell it when you're hungry in the streets of Lucuza Lounge. No, it's a peanut or a sponge.
So you are selling substances?
Allegedly!
He just admitted to it.
Allegedly, our defendant here...
Right. Does the defense have any more witnesses to bring to the stand?
That's about it, Your Highness.
Very good. Do you need to pick me up?
I don't know, do you want a cheesecake or something to get me out of this?
What? Just... No.
There's some Vagisil in the back if you need a little kick.
All right. I mean, no.
No.
No thanks, buddy. God, I love court. All right.
Wait,
You
that's
may
his
bring forward your
dental cream.
first witness.
Thank you, High Lord Judge Bringus. I would like to
It's
call
already
Officer
too late.
Rickety to the witness stand.
They've got the wrong evidence. We are way out.
Shut up, it's already over.
Officer Rickety, good afternoon. Were you present for this arrest that took place of Mr. Meathamski?
Yes, I was the lead officer.
I see. How many officers were there under your command when you approached the premises?
I believe it's between 6 to 8, somewhere around
6
there.
to 8. What different parts of your department were present? Did you have any special response teams or just regular patrol officers?
Initially, regular patrol was called in, but whenever we had to clear the building, SORT was called in for support, and they were the ones responsible for clearing the building, which I led them as well.
Understandable. Very well. That being the case, what did you see when you first approached this so-called derelict building that Mr. Meathamski was occupying?
There was trash everywhere, overturned vending machines, graffiti on the walls, one of which said "No cat cops," and then a thank you letter to Lacusa. Also on there.
So this vandalism that you saw, there was specific targets in this vandalism, such as Loli police members and Lacusa himself, the owner of the property.
It was against cat cops, but Lacusa was on the thank you message. Correct, yes.
I see.
And there's also several other names on there.
Now, when you came into contact with Mr. Meathamski, what took place, start to finish?
Well, he walked in unexpectedly. We didn't expect the suspect to show up. He complied with us immediately. We asked him if he was living here, and he said, what were we doing in his apartment? And I told him we had received a call of some suspicious activity going on inside, some loud noises. We had to come investigate. We asked him about his 1.5 drugs on the tape as well.
I see.
He admitted to living there, and then we took him down to the station and processed him.
I see. Now, when you came in contact with Mr. Meathamski, did any of your officers fire their weapon?
No. Weapons were ready, just in case, because we weren't sure who was walking in, but no shots were fired by any
Was
of
a
our
single
officers.
round fired by an LPD officer at the defendant right there?
No, there was not.
And you were in charge of the officers on the scene?
That's correct, yes.
If an order like that was to be made, it would come from you, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And that order was not given?
It was not given, nope.
I understand. At any point in time, did you witness your officers abusing Mr. Meathamski while he was in your custody?
No, our officers were very professional and courteous.
As they usually are. But my next question is more important. Mr. Meathamski, did he have any of these injuries or, little emo eyeshadow going on? Did he have that when you arrived on the scene?
He was looking pretty beat up, yes.
Did any of your officers make a comment about it, or you yourself?
No, I don't believe so, no.
I see. Was anything found on the property itself? Such as illegal substances, firearms?
Just some Vagisil in the bathroom, and then the 1.5 drugs on a mixtape we found.
I see.
You were beat up before they got there.
I see. Well, another question that's worth noting, officer. Did the suspect comply with you when you first arrived? When you made contact with Mr. Meathamski, was there any kind of altercation?
No, there really wasn't.
Was anyone else present when you arrived?
Only our officers were in the building.
Only your officers arrived and nobody was on the scene. It was just you. How did you find Mr. Meathamski then?
He walked in while we were performing the investigation.
I see. Mr. Meathamski, I was curious. Did you find these officers going through your apartment?
Yes. Also, I inhaled a lot of ceiling dust when they busted through the ceiling, and I'm pretty sure I'm having a hard time breathing because of that.
It's probably asbestos, but that wouldn't have happened, you know, if you weren't on someone else's property. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. Mr. Meathamski has just said with his own mouth that he was the one who found the officers when they were on his quote-unquote property, which we have now established is under the ownership of Lakuza. That being said, the two witnesses that just came to the stand have been revealed to both be lying on behalf of the defense, because they did not witness anything, because no one was present when the officers arrived, as Mr. Meathamski had just said he was the one who found the officers when they were in his apartment. The prior witnesses that have given us statements saying that they were there and witnessed a horrific beating and discharge of firearms lied to the court and lied to the Honorable High Lord Judge Bringus.
Everyone gasp.
You can lie to the court, but you can't fucking lie to your counsel. Good luck. I'm fine. I quit.
Ricky. Alright, Lucifer, you're my backup.
I'm gonna go home to my family.
Mr. Piper.
Sorry, Your Honor!
Mr. Piper.
Can I, fire myself?
I think that
Yes, you may. However, you have performed very admirably, I believe, this day. If your, you know, your defendant wasn't so inept, you might have even gotten away with it. Not to say I've made a verdict yet. We haven't heard all the evidence. All the witnesses.
One last thing, Your Honor.
Oh, do you have an objection? Just yell objection, it's easier for me. I can't read.
If you look at the evidence table, that's not Vagisil, that's dental cream.
Alright,
I sold both.
Hey, Brunswick, hey, good game out.
You can't make jokes with dental cream.
Fucking hate that guy. Fuck that guy. Fucking.
I'm so glad I wore my cup today. If I may continue.
Evidence of Meathamski getting permission to live there was written on the wall as a thank you note to Lakuza. It was written in writing.
Basically like money.
It's like a contract.
So you're admitting that he wrote it. He wrote it.
What a shit show.
Anyway, I just came.
I decorated it like
Contract to hire
wallpaper.
me's on the wall in the alley behind this place. So
Spaghetti on my stove.
Wait,
Yeah,
you
I
did what
didn't have
behind the
paper.
alley?
I had to hire
You
him
didn't have
somehow.
paper.
Yeah, he wanted it written down, so I wrote it on the wall out back.
does he look like someone with paper, Your Honor? You had to use my
Paper,
pen.
maybe.
Rolling paper, if I was to guess.
I need.
Oh, we use the wall.
Listen. I'm going to need you to put your finger on this. This is going to tell me whether or not
You have
your
diabetes.
intentions. No, this is going to tell me if
Just
your
use that for your
intentions.
diabetes.
Alright, smart guy. How about
Just
this
hold
then?
his wrist, close pulse, and a line
Hold my
effect
hand,
gauge.
touch my meaty fingers, and let me feel your sweaty palms. Yes, that feels feels like your Yes, I'm definitely sensing a certain level of deceit and criminal aptitude. Yes, I'm
Objection,
feeling
Your
it.
Honor. This is not scientific test and evidence.
Dude,
Your
I
Honor,
got like
please
a
go.
on my hand.
No, Your Honor, please,
you
please go
questioning the High Lord
easy on the
Bringus?
defense. They've never been in your court before. Please, mercy.
Very well. I'll do it for you, boo.
About what they saw when.
Okay.
Okay.
What? Are you doing that?
Okay, both of
We're
us
both doing
then.
it.
Let's go. All right. You finish the sentence, all right?
All right.
When I walked into my apartment and you were standing there, what did I say to you?
What are you guys doing in my apartment?
Exactly. That was my apartment. Go.
what happened after he showed up at his apartment and he found that you guys were there?
We asked him if he's living there, and then talked to him for a few minutes, and he admitted to living at the premises.
Did Meathamski show any signs of violence?
He did not.
harm?
No. He complied.
Did you or did you not point guns at an unsolicited guns at an unviolent,
Objection, Your Honor. This was all covered
I don't know
already.
what words I'm trying to use, but he didn't seem like he was going to attack you, but you pointed guns still.
Yeah, he had a bunch of fucking guns, bunch of them, and they were busting through the ceiling.
It's our job to protect ourselves. We weren't sure exactly what kind of character Meathamski was, so we had to remain ready in defensive positions just in case. But
And how did
guns
you
were
get
loaded
into
as soon as
Meathamski's apartment?
the door was unlocked.
Objection. It was not
door was
Meathamski's
unlocked?
apartment. It was Lakuza's
Did you
property.
therefore
The same.
get
There was
into
no lock.
Objection,
Meathamski's
hold on.
apartment unauthorized?
The lock was not on the door. The
So you
lock was broken
entered
off the door.
Meathamski's apartment
Wait, Lucifer,
unauthorized?
Lucifer, he lied. There was no door. I broke that door off the hinges. He's lying.
And he entered.
Somebody
he
laid it
entered
up
a building
against.
unauthorized. He broke in to Meathamski's apartment, Your Honor. He broke an entry
does
on a
not
police
have
force.
an apartment.
That's
At all.
true
Even
right
if it
now.
wasn't
I
his
have no one to
apartment, he
Lakuza
unauthorized.
has a property
a
that he was
building.
not authorized to be on.
Therefore, he broke in.
Sorry, I had to take a piss.
He broke into a
Understandable.
building,
Oh, welcome
whether or not it was owned by Meathamski.
All right, I think we can rest our case here. We proved our point.
Yeah,
he
we
broke
rest-
in.
Yeah.
I broke the door off. He lied about that being there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more witnesses to bring forward?
I certainly could if it would please the court, and they're all going to say the same thing because they were all present to the true state of facts that took place, rather than the drug-addled witnesses we saw in the first half of the game, so to speak. It's up to the court if they
Understood.
decide they need more information.
If you have no extra information to add, if you believe that it'll all be redundant, then I don't see any reason to continue with witnesses.
Excellent. I'd like to call up my next witness.
Very well. By all means.
If I could
You
call
jackass.
TheGamingExite up to the stand. Give testimony.
I agree, Mr. Python. This whole case has been a waste of fucking time. You're right.
Please raise your right hand.
You're going to stay in
Do you
fucking
swear to
jail
tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
unless this
I do.
works.
Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
I would like to ask you a couple of questions just to make sure that everything has been covered and there are no questions left to the court when they make their final decision. All right?
Oh yeah.
Were you present when the officers arrived at Lakuza's building that is being dubbed as Meathamski's apartment?
I was an SLRT member.
Oh, you were in the special response team unit.
I was.
Excellent. All right. Were any of your weapons discharged at all at Mr. Meathamski?
No, none of us discharged any of our weapons.
Were any weapons discharged at all? Just to, so
No.
there's no questions in the court, not even just at Mr. Meathamski. Was it discharged at all?
Not at all.
Did any of the officers beat down or attack Mr. Meathamski?
No, they all acted very professional, and no one was hurt.
I see. And when you arrived at the scene, were there anyone else there that could have possibly seen what had happened or given testimony to the arrest?
No, there was only us officers and Meathamski himself that were present.
I see. Very good. From these line of questioning, Your Honor, it is pretty easy to deduce, I'll say it once again, the first two witnesses were probably either on payment or drug-addled, and had absolutely no testimony that is worth the court paying attention to, but it should be transcripted so it be kept as evidence. The officers that were present, none of them have fired or discharged their weapons, which is in direct defiance of the words of both the defense and the defendant himself. Claiming bodily harm, as I'm sure you understand, if an officer murdered somebody, they would have been arrested and sent to jail for a very long time, or gotten the death penalty. So these kinds of lies coming from the defense attorney need to be recognized by the court. Other than that, I really have nothing else from the officer. They have given the same clear testimony.
Very good. Would you like to cross-examine?
Hell no.
Very well. You may take your
Hey,
seat.
thank you.
Let's wrap this up because I need to go to jail and sleep.
Yeah, all right. I got this, Your Honor. He's innocent.
Compelling.
Oh wow, where'd you get that from, guys?
Bailiff.
How I pay the big bucks.
Okay, no?
Bailiff, where's your gun?
He's-
You're supposed to have a gun too.
Your Honor, he's innocent, I
Bailiff,
tell
even
you.
pay attention.
Shit.
Innocent.
All right, that's it. All right,
Yes, I think.
look. Your Honor,
Innocent. Lamborghini.
shut the fuck up.
Ooh, a Lamborghini.
That's my house key. God damn it.
Our free house, eh?
Your Honor,
You should have had that.
Hmm.
I thank you for your contributions, and I will take it into deep consideration. Thank you.
Your Honor, I've noticed a lot of technical mumble-jumble and legal lingo this entire case. May I
wasn't
even be
expecting
standing
that.
here so close to you, your
You want
omnipotence? Oh, yeah. Your Honor,
That's Shrek.
let me appeal to your emotional side, then, if I may. Your Honor, Mr. Meathamski has a custom avatar. We cannot imprison him. I rest my case.
What's that mean?
Means
Listen,
you're
I'll
special,
go down
son.
there
Your Honor,
and I'll wait for the
all
bus.
of the LPD's avatars are
Means you're
custom
special.
avatars.
No,
That cancels out that he has a custom
Don't
avatar.
you listen to that whore mouth. Don't you listen to those words. You're special. They can't arrest you. You're
May I
special, son.
suggest, High Lord
Future
Bringers,
of this great country.
the defense attorney gets arrested as well.
I'm considering it. He is homeless now, so don't do this.
Oh, go straight to jail.
I love you.
I love you too, baby.
Okay, we got this. All right, we're done. All right, we're good. I rest. That's it.
All right.
Got this. We got this.
All right, prosecution. Any closing statements?
Closing statements, yes. I would like to say that it has been proven today, on this day, that the LPD has been proven by not only collaborating statements, but by the words of the defendant himself, that they have absolutely no wrongdoing on their hands whatsoever. I would also like to point out that Mr. Meathamski is a big old puss because he was beat up by little girls wearing boys' clothes. That being the case, I'm going to go ahead and rest my suitcase over there, and mind you, there are big fat stacks of honeys in there that might change your mind. Thank you.
Cocksucker.
You say. Very good to know. Find the defendant on the charges of vandalism, breaking and entering, squatting, and what was the other one?
We got
Taking drugs, doing lots of
Alright,
drugs,
we're going to
selling
jail too.
drugs.
This
What?
jail.
I find you guilty. And hold on, wait. Don't say
hold
anything
on,
yet.
you love me.
Hold on. I do love you. But
Oh,
it's a
thank
rough
you.
love.
Oh.
Wait, hard love? What's the term? I don't know. Guilty. Hammer sound. Hammer sound.
Objection.
I sentence you.
Objection.
He's mocking me!
BT.
Fuck you!
I know.
Order in the court. I sentenced you
We're in a
to
court?
40 years in the Vagisil mine.
Objection.
May you rock.
Hey, that's good. I'm gonna go back here and wait for the
Objection is over, you bloody idiot! It's over!
Hagrid, is that you?
Hagrid!
Place to stay while you get situated for the next couple of weeks. You're free to crash on my couch.
I had to crash a fucking car into your apartment building, fucking boomer. I'm out of here. I was thinking my fucking 2014 Ford Focus ST with available crew cab pickup and 4-door seating arrangements with 0 down available APR for 6 months available finance.
Subscribe.
चोरी चोरी कर धड़क धड़क जिया जिया दिल बोले बम बम या रुत में से तानी कहे चढ़ती जवानी पिया पिया दिल बोले बम बम या चोरी चोरी कर धड़क धड़क जिया जिया दिल बोले बम बम या रुत में से तानी कहे चढ़ती जवानी पिया पिया दिल बोले बम बम या चोरी चोरी कर धड़क धड़क जिया जिया दिल बोले बम बम या रुत में से तानी कहे चढ़ती जवानी पिया पिया दिल बोले बम बम या चोरी चोरी कर धड़क